I'm Matt from Gardner Tackle, and today's video I'm going to be focusing on the range of leads that Gardner sell and the range of different sizes and colours that we do. I'm going to be talking about the different characteristics of leads and the advantages that some give me over others, and what situations I might apply a particular style of lead. I'll also talk about the lead attachment systems, the helicopter drop-off system, inline, and showing you how each of those can be used to lose the lead in situations where that's necessary. But before I do that, I'm going to show you our lead coating powders. Now, these are perfect for anyone that wants to coat their own leads at home, or even to change the colour of a lead that's already coated. Now, we do these in 3 different colours and 2 different finishes. The finishes are a smooth finish and a textured finish, and the colours that we do are a silty grey colour, which is obviously perfect for silt. There's a weedy green and a brown colour, which is more suited to fishing over gravel, sand or clay. Now, I've never used these before, so before I show you any of the leads or anything, we're going to head off over to the factory where Gardner's leads are made and find out about lead coating powders and how to apply them. We're here at Gardner's lead manufacturer to have a look at lead coating powders. This is an area that's fairly new to me, so we're here to meet with Graham, who's going to run us through how lead coating powders work and how we go about applying a coating to a bare lead. Hello, Graham.
You're right, mate.
Yeah. So, Graham, what's the principle of lead coating powders? How do they work?
Right, so it's basically a plastic powder coat.
Okay.
It's quite simple. To apply the coating, it would be just a simple heat up of the lead.
Right, so we're not heating the powder, it's just the lead we're heating.
Yeah, so it's just a heat up of the lead. So we generally would heat up an oven to 250 degrees.
Okay, oh, quite hot then.
Yeah, 250 degrees. You don't want to go too hot. And once that lead's hot, it's got a bit of heat in it. As soon as you put it in the powder, it will stick to it. And once you've given it a bit of a generous coat, and then you can cure it back off in the oven for a few minutes, say. And that's the basic of it. But you can, if you wanted to, you could heat it up over a flame.
Okay,
you could do
right, so you could do that at home on your own quite easily.
Yeah, you could do
right,
that.
so that's got me a couple of questions straight away. So is the lead actually melting the powder? The heat from the lead is what melts the powder?
It sticks to it instantly.
Yeah.
And,
Okay. And I know there's a question that's going to be in a lot of anglers' minds. Is it safe to heat a lead like that? Yeah,
it's safe. I mean, you do want to be careful. I mean, we have a calibrated oven.
Okay.
You don't ever want to melt a lead or heat a lead over 400 degrees, because otherwise it will start fumigating. So
and that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Right,
so
okay.
I mean, I'd be careful of that. So obviously a calibrated would be better. But if you're holding it over a flame, if you see the lead turn a bit bluey, that's when you want to stop.
Right, so okay, so that's when we've reached that critical temperature.
Yeah,
and
that'll be like the cut-off point. When it starts going a bluey purpley, that'll be,
Okay, so for an angler doing it at home in the garage, you're probably better to do it outside, is it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. If you've got a bit of ventilation.
Yeah, I would assume that's essential, is it, ventilation?
Yeah. You don't want to be doing it in a closed-in area.
No, okay.
Because it's obviously not ideal. But I mean, it's safe to use. It's not a dangerous thing if you're doing it properly.
Yeah, you know? There's a lot of fear about lead, isn't there?
Yeah. I don't think it's as long as you're sensible and you don't overheat the lead, that is one of the main problems.
Okay, lovely. Right, can you explain to me the difference between the textured one and the smooth one?
Yeah. Right. So the smooth texture has obviously got its matting agent in. So to coat a smooth coated lead, you will heat it up at, say, 250 degrees 3 minutes in the oven, then you'll dip it generously, and then back in the oven for another 3 minutes, and then obviously it'll come out nice and cured, and then you let it cool down. That's your smooth coated lead.
Right, okay.
The textured style of coating, you'll literally heat it up for 3 minutes, same again. You'll dip it quickly, give it a little dip, then you'll put it back in the oven to cure it slightly, then you dip again.
Ah, okay, so it's a
which
double...
will get, but before, to keep it textured, you don't put it back in the oven to cure it, you'll just chuck it in water. So,
right, okay.
So the powder's all stuck to it, and you're just chilling it as it is. So that'll be your textured
so that
finish.
gives you your texture.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so
Lovely.
that'll be the textured one. But yeah, that's the two, and that's the two main processes of doing it, yeah.
Brilliant. Right, I'm looking forward to seeing how you actually go about it.
Yeah, well, we'll try our best.
Brilliant. So for this big factory scale version of coating the lead, we've got a selection of bare lead, great big tub of lead coating powder, and Graham's going to show us exactly how he goes about putting the coating on them.
Yeah, so we'll get our first couple of leads and we'll pop them in the oven at 250 degrees for a few minutes.
Okay.
And then we'll see how to do it.
Okay. Well, it sounds to me like those leads are ready. There's some sort of an alarm going off there.
Right, if we get them out then and
Yep.
show the first steps.
Perfect.
Yeah, so the lead is thoroughly heated all the way through, and you'll just scoop it over.
So you're actually submerging it in the powder.
Yeah, submerge it under there. Make sure you don't get the swivel, obviously. You don't want all that coated.
Okay.
Give it a nice...
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, because that'll interfere with the movement, won't it? Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, bring it up, let that powder stick on it, and then just go again to give it that bit of a thick coat. And
Like breadcrumbing a bit of chicken there.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a textured sort of finish now. But if we put that in the oven for 3 more minutes, that will cure it off.
Right, I noticed there that you were using pliers to pick up the lead. Obviously, they're very hot, so you don't want to be burning yourself.
Yes. Yeah, very hot. Obviously, the oven's running on 250 degrees. So yeah, you don't want to be picking that up.
No, that's going to do a lot of damage, isn't it?
And obviously, when the powder coating, when it's got the powder coating on, it's coming out the oven. That is also very hot. So you, when that comes out in a minute,
we'll so obviously you're experienced and you know what you're doing. But maybe for people doing it at home, their own ones, they might want to wear some like heat-proof gloves or something like that.
Because it does hurt.
Yeah, I bet it does.
I've picked one up before.
Right, so that's gone back in the oven and it's bleeping away at us again. So it's reached its temperature.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at what they're like.
Yeah, it should be done.
Oh, it's completely different now.
Yeah, so that's the smooth finish. It looks quite shiny at the minute, but that will dull down as it chills.
Cools down. Yeah.
But yeah, if we hang that as it is.
Yeah, so it's important to hang that from something, otherwise you're going to make a flat spot if you put it on the side.
And that is very sticky and hot. That's that.
Okay. So hang it up, leave it for a while to cool down. How long will that take to cool down?
Yeah, I mean, you could put it in water if you wanted to.
Okay.
To chill it quickly. But yeah, that'd take a few minutes.
Oh, so not ages and ages?
No, a few minutes and that would be good.
Right, so you've shown us how to do the smooth coated lead, and now we're going to move on to the texture coating, which is a slightly different process, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, so it's very similar. You'll heat the lead up for 3 minutes. You'll give it a base coat, first dip.
Yep.
Only a light dip, just something to get on that lead. Put it back in the oven for 30 seconds.
Oh, so less time than we did before.
Yeah, so it's just literally just enough to give it a base coat that's going to stick, the top coat to stick to it. Okay. So, yeah, put it in the oven, give it a base coat, back in the oven for a minute, then back into the powder.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it's got a nice, consistent bit of powder around it, we'll put it in water straight away, and that will chill to keep the texture.
So we don't cure that second coating.
So you don't want to be curing that.
Right,
so just be, and the water obviously just chill it down to keep it as it is.
Perfect. Right, let's get some more leads in the oven then.
Let's dig in another one.
So this is the textured lead that we're doing now. So let's say I've got a smooth coated lead. Would it be possible for me to put a textured coating on top of that?
Yeah, it's possible. If you were to coat an already coated lead, if it was a smooth coated lead, you could change that to a textured coated lead.
Right, okay.
You're not really going to be able to get away with an extra top coat and cure it to finish it with a smooth. So it would be
for the textured
So
coating,
if you have a smooth coated lead, you could probably put that in the oven for a few minutes, re-dip it straight in water, and that will give you a textured.
Oh, so you'd only have to do the second stage of the process that we're doing now.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
see. Oh, perfect. Brilliant.
Yeah, so that can be done.
Right, sounds like we're ready again.
Yeah.
They're all heated up.
Yeah, so this will be the textured finish.
Yep.
And,
okay.
Yeah, right, let's go. So this will be the first stage of the textured.
Okay.
So a quick
So
base
just dip
coat,
in the powder.
and then pop that in the oven for another 30
Right, so you've
seconds.
not been quite so careful about making sure every little bit's covered with that, so it's just a base coat.
For the textured finish, just a quick, simple base coat, and we'll pop that in for 30 seconds to a minute.
Perfect,
And
okay.
come back for the next bit.
Right, so it's had its 30 seconds in there.
Yeah.
Bleeping away at us again.
So we'll go for the
Get
second
stage
bit now.
2.
So we'll go in for the top coat. Obviously, as that base coat is all hot and sticky, it's going to take all this.
So that's almost just like a melted plastic all around it, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's
that
just,
sticks to the top.
as you can see, it's a nice textured finish now.
And then you're making sure every little bit's covered.
Yeah, and to get a nice thick coat on it, you can leave it in there for 10, 15 seconds, no problem.
Okay.
But straight away, you want to go straight into water to chill it.
And that sets it exactly as
And
it is, so that doesn't melt itself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I suppose the heat of the lead's going to come out and melt
That's
the
right,
powder. Yeah, I see.
So that is just going to chill it instantly. I suppose 20 seconds, 30 seconds.
Okay. And I can see, just looking at it, I can see the difference between the smooth coated and that. They're just completely different, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's your textured finish.
Oh, I can feel the texture on it. Oh, that's so different to the smooth one. Yeah, fantastic.
But yeah, the main thing is trying not to get on the swivels. There's a little bit on the eye there, but
Yeah, so I suppose you can just move it about a
yeah,
little
but
bit.
that's if you're a bit
get it
more
moving
careful
again.
than I was there, I suppose you can avoid that.
I think you've probably been more careful than I am going to be. Well, that's brilliant. Thanks ever so much, Graham.
Yeah, that's okay.
I've found that really interesting. I've never seen lead coated before, and it's opened my eyes as to what goes into the process and how it works.
Yeah, it's a basic process, but you know,
but it needs to be done right, doesn't it?
yeah,
So,
and I think the heat control and being careful with the temperature of things, obviously, as it's lead.
Yeah,
But
and making sure you don't burn yourself.
yeah, there's that as well.
Brilliant. Well, that's fantastic. Thanks ever so much.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
So now I've been shown how to go about putting a coating on a bare lead. I'm going to have a go myself. So I think I've got everything I need. I've got my gas, I've got a stove, I've got some water to cool the leads off at the end, I've got my coating powder, I've got smooth and a textured coating powder, pliers to hold the leads, and a few bare leads. So right, I'm going to have a go at it. So I've put my lead coating powder into a slightly bigger container to give me a little bit more room to agitate the lead into the powder. And I'm holding the lead right down near the bottom of the swivel. One, to make sure I don't get any lead coating powder on the swivel itself, which will interfere with its movement. And two, to give me a little bit more control over turning the lead on its side so that I can heat it evenly on each plane, rather than just heating the bottom. Now, if I were doing this in my garage, I'd want to make sure I've got plenty of ventilation, be that windows open, doors open, or maybe even a fan running, just to make sure there's plenty of airflow. I'm doing it outside here, so I don't need to worry about that. Fire the stove up, let's heat the lead. Now, I'm looking for a slight change in colour on the lead. I'm just looking for it to change to a slightly golden hue, rather than the silvery lead colour. Turn it around that way. I'm just trying to get enough heat into the lead so that it will melt the plastics in the coating powder. So that seems to be changing colour slightly now. It's gone a bit golden. So we'll go straight into the powder now. Make sure there's plenty of powder on there. And I'll tap off any excess. There we go, so that's the lead coated. Now I've got to go in and back in the flames just for a little bit, just to cure the outside. And again, I'm going to move it around, make sure it's not sitting in one place. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Put it into the water. That'll start to cool the lead. I'll leave that in there for a few minutes before I touch it, make sure it's fully cooled down. And I'll show you the results. There we go. It's not quite as professional as the ones that Graham showed me being made in the factory, but I'm very happy with it. The whole of Gardner's new range of leads come in our cloaked finish, which is a subtle matte green camouflage coating which will remain unobtrusive over a whole variety of different lake beds. Now, the first lead I'm going to show you is one of our most popular, and that's the swivel pair. The reason it's most popular is because it is a very good all-rounder. It's suitable for most scenarios. It's very stable in flight. You can use it in the edge, you can use it at range. I wouldn't say it's the one you're going to use for extreme range because it's not the most streamlined shape, but it is applicable for the vast majority of situations. Its concentrated shape means it's got some very good hooking qualities and comes into play very soon after a fish picks the bait up. Now, the next lead in the range that I'd like to show you is the swivel flat pair. Now, as its name suggests, it's very similar to the one I've just shown you. However, it's almost like a flattened down version, and it's got two flat edges. Its qualities are quite similar in that it's got a tight concentration of weight, so it does come into play very quickly after a fish picks the bait up, and the whole of the lead will come into play to set the hook. Its casting qualities aren't quite so good though. It's the flat edges mean it's not quite so stable in flight, so I wouldn't use it for such for the same sort of ranges maybe. But where it really does excel is when it's up against a slope. Now that might be your near margin slope or an island margin or even the sides of a gravel bar, where these flat edges will help keep it in position and stop it rolling down the shelf. And moving on to a lead that is suitable for range fishing, we've got the swivel dumpy distance. As its name suggests, it's a distance lead. It's got a very weight forward design, so it's like an elongated pair almost, so that the weight forward design keeps excellent stability in flight, but it is a very streamlined shape which enables it to cut through the air with minimal resistance. Again, it's a swivel lead, or pendant lead, so it will be attached either helicopter style or onto a lead clip, and it's the one I'd choose if I'm looking to fish as far as I possibly can. Now, another lead that's suitable for long range fishing is the aptly named swivel distance lead. Again, it's got a very streamlined shape, possibly even more streamlined than the last one I showed you, but not quite so stable in flight. It's probably my favourite lead and the lead I use more than anything else, and the reason for that is because the really long elongated streamlined shape means it doesn't readily get caught up in weed. That makes it an excellent lead for using on weedy waters, but also on your marker rod or your leading rod when you're trying to find clear spots. If you use like a dumpier shape, I can get stuck in the weed, and you've got to drag a whole load of weed back in, whereas this sort of streamlined distance shape, you can just pop out of the weed and then you're back in play to feel the bottom again all the way back. Now, the grapple lead is the last of the swivel leads that I've got to show you. It's a very unusual shape and a bit of a specialist tool, this one. It's got a hollow core, so that enables water to pass through it, meaning it's a very good lead for anywhere that you've got flowing water. So river carping is becoming a lot more popular. A lot of people are going out barbel fishing. It's perfect for those. It's also available in sizes right up to 12 ounce, which means it's very popular with the anglers fishing on the continental canals, or indeed anyone that's fishing and dropping baits from a boat at the extreme range where you really want a big lead. These are the ones to use. It's very much like a flat pair in that it's got a flattish plane, so it will grip on the sides of shelves, gravel bars, etc. But it's also got a knobbly, sort of like a knobbly shape really, which enables it to dig right into the substrate and really maintain its position on the river or lake bed. Another good use of this one is for fishing paste. So you might be fishing like method paste, or like boilie paste for the winter, where you can just fill the middle of the lead with the paste and even go round it. These little knobbles on the outside will really help to get a ball of paste grip into it. So yeah, very unusual lead there, but one that's got an awful lot of applications. Although this one's not a swivel lead as such, our ring heli is still a pendant lead. Instead of a swivel at the top, it's got a ring, which enables you to have a much neater helicopter setup. And then stops you having to cut the swivel off. So if you're using heli setups quite a lot, then this is the lead for you. It's a very streamlined shape, but it's got a flat bottom, which helps prevent it from digging into the silt. And although it is designed as a helicopter lead, it's become very popular with anglers using lead clips, because the lack of swivel means that there's much less free play for a fish that's picking the lead up, so it does come into play quite a bit quicker. We're on to the inline leads now, and the first one I'm going to show you is the inline flat pair. As the inline name suggests, it's a lead that has got a central hole through which your leader or your main line goes. It's got a flat pair shape similar to the swivel flat pair, which means it will sit very nicely on shelves, gravel bars, the sides of bars, island margins, that sort of thing. So it will remain in position without sliding or rolling down the slope. Its flat profile means it's very unlikely to sink deep into the silt, and the nature of the shape means that the lead comes into play very, very soon after a fish picks the bait up. It comes with an elongated insert, which means it's excellent for PVA bag fishing, so you've got like a nice long insert to tie the bag on, but it's also an ideal way to get more of the lead into play quickly. So with the long insert, it can pivot on the top of the insert and the whole lead is lifted off in one go, which is a real good aid to setting the hook. The other inline lead I've got to show you is very similar to the flat pair, but this time it's a drop-off version. So it's essentially the same type of lead. However, it's got a groove just down one of the planes, so that you can fish an inline drop-off system, enabling you to lose the lead if it's necessary, but the groove allows you to put your leader through it, so it's still got a very nice, neat, streamlined shape. So having shown you all the different styles and shapes of lead that we make, I'll now go through how I'd go about attaching them, so like the lead arrangement, and we'll talk a little bit about the situations in which I might use each different one. Now, all of these setups will be perfectly suited to various different leaders, be that lead core, lead free in this instance, fused leader, and in particular this rig, the lead clip, is very well suited to use with tubing as well. The lead clip setup has a standard size 8 swivel which fits inside the end of the lead clip, which is threaded onto my leader. Now the lead clip itself has a little hook at the bottom for the lead to go on, and the lead simply slides over that. And then one other component, and that's a tail rubber which also slides down the leader, and that fits over the end of the little tag that holds the lead in place. And you can regulate how easily or how well that tail rubber will hold the lead on by pushing it further or less far on. Now, I would never advise jamming it right on tightly, because it will keep the lead in place, and this rig relies on losing the lead for its safety aspect. So in the event of a take, or in the event that the lead gets caught up in some weed or pads or what have you, it will pull off, just as simple as that. So the fish is never going to be dragging the lead around. if you're fishing in a situation where maybe there's really heavy weed and you want the fish to come up to the top as soon as you've hooked it, you'd only push the tail rubber on a very short way, just enough to hold it in place for the cast. And in that situation, the lead will come off as soon as you get your bite. If you're fishing where you want to keep the lead on, and I would normally try and keep the lead on for most situations, unless I felt it was a big advantage to lose it, then you can push it on a little way further. It's always best to test these to see if you think it's reasonable that the lead comes off easily enough. That comes off ever so easily there. And not forgetting that when it's out in the lake, it'll be in a wet situation, so things will slide a lot more easily. And a nice simple test to do with it wet. Let's pick up the rig, see if the lead comes off. There you go, perfectly safe. Now the type of situations in which I might use the lead clip, pretty much anything really. Very well suited to fishing in snags because it will dump the lead on the take if need be. For fishing in weed, it's very well suited. It's pretty much the all-rounder. It's suitable for use in silt, as long as it's not really soft silt and the lead might go too far in, but you've still got a decent way that the lead can sink into the silt before it might affect your presentation. So I would say the lead clip is, it's a go-to for most situations. Probably not as good as a helicopter rig for extreme range, and maybe not as good as far as hooking ability goes as an inline rig, but it really is a jack of all trades and probably the most versatile rig or lead setup that you could possibly use. The next setup I'm going to show you is a standard inline setup. Again, it's a very popular way to attach your lead. Inline leads have got a hole through the centre, and through that there's a plastic insert. The safety aspect comes from the way that the insert grips hold of the swivel just under some slight tension, so that it will release in the event of a bite, and certainly in the event of the lead becoming stuck. At the other end of the lead, at the tail end, I've trimmed the insert back to accept a tail rubber, and so my leader goes straight through the tail rubber, through the plastic insert, and then into the swivel. So when you get your bite, the swivel will pop out, and so in the event of a crack off or a breakage, line breakage of any sort, that will slide through, and then the fish is not left towing the lead around. Now, the sort of situations where I might use an inline lead would be primarily things like margin fishing, fishing where fish are going to be particularly wary, where I haven't got to cast too far. So for dropping rigs in the edge, it's absolutely ideal, especially when I'm using a flat lead, which will grip on marginal shelves and things like that. The reason it's so good in the edge is that when a fish picks up the bait, tightens the hook link, the whole lead comes into place straight away, and it's feeling that concentrated weight, and it's lifting it up from the heavy end rather than the thinner tapered end as you would do with the swivel lead. So a great hooker of fish and perfect for use in situations where you're fishing for wary fish. Right, so let's say that I want to fish an inline lead, same as I've just showed you, but maybe I want to be fishing up to an obstruction, say pads or snag or something like that. Now, it's much safer then if I can actually lose the lead completely. So what we use is something called an inline drop-off system. Now, this lead is purpose made for it, but you can do it with an ordinary inline lead, but having this groove within the lead just allows it to be a little bit neater and more streamlined. Now, the difference here is that the leader, instead of going through the centre of the lead, runs around the outside. So it will go through my tail rubber as before, which sits on the plastic insert, but the leader actually goes round the outside and then sits in this neat little groove. Now, at the other end, because my leader is not attached to the end of the swivel, we have to use a special swivel which has got a double ring on it. So it's like a ring swivel, but with a second ring. What this means is that the swivel can sit inside the insert, but neither the hook link nor the leader are attached to it. They're attached to the two rings. And so what that means is that when I get a bite on this rig, the swivel pops out, leaving it just sitting, held on by the tail rubber. And should that lead get caught at all, it'll pop off, jettison the lead, so that it can no longer cause any harm to the fish. Now we move on to what is certainly my favourite lead arrangement, and the one I use for the vast majority of my fishing. I probably use this for 90% of my fishing, and that's called the rotary or helicopter setup. And it's so called because the hook link sits, rather than being at the end of the leader, runs on the leader, so it can rotate just like helicopter blades do. Now, for this setup, the lead is on the end of the leader. Now you can do that with a clip to enable you to quick change, or as I prefer to do, just by looping it on. And so the swivel of the lead sits within a bead called a buffer bead, which keeps it all nice and neat and tidy. Now you can get large buffer beads, short ones, and it's up to you which you use. If you use a long one, which sits over the whole of the swivel, and your lead were to bury in the silt, there's a chance that it could go in and sit up stiff and awkward. So I prefer to use a shorter buffer bead, just allowing some sort of a hinge at the end of the rig, so if the lead were to bury itself in the silt, then it can still sit nice and flat. Now what holds the hook link in place and stops it sliding right up to the top of the leader and up the main line, and what also performs the safety aspect of the rig, is a bead. Now this bead is a chod bead, which is designed for chod and helicopter rigs, and it's got an internal bore which is shaped like a Y, which means that it will accept any sort of leader knot at the top, and it will go through the bead without catching, therefore allowing the rig to jettison in the case of a snap off. The rig can come completely off the leader and the main line, but it's at the other end, at the narrow end, which must be at the bottom it's sort of like the narrow part of the Y. That gives a section of the bead which actually will grip on your leader, and they're available in a high bore for lead core, or a low bore which is more suited to lead free, or even for mainline. Now, in the event of a bite on this one, you'll be playing your fish against your buffer bead. But should the line break, or should you get caught in should the line like snap off on a snag or something like that, the bead can slide straight the way up the leader and straight off like that, and then the fish is only left with the hook link. Now the helicopter rig is another very versatile rig like the lead clip, and it's suited to a great number of situations. Where it excels particularly well, I would say, is for long range fishing, because it's a good casting rig. It's also very well suited for fishing in maybe some silt or low bottom weed, and Bala might make a couple of adjustments to do that. So certainly if I think the lead's burying in silt and a very soft bottom, if I'm not getting a firm drop, I'd want to move the bead up a little bit to allow the lead to drop down into the silt, so the swivel can move up to the bead, so it can still sit nice and flush on top of the weed or silt and be presented perfectly. Now where it maybe isn't quite so suitable would be for fishing up to obstructions and snags and things like that. So in that situation I might make a slight adjustment which would enable me to use a helicopter rig in a sort of situation where I do need to lose the lead. So should I be in a situation where I'd still want to use a helicopter rig, maybe I'm fishing over some light weed or silt, but it's quite close to snags or an obstruction, I feel it's important I add a further element of safety to the setup, and I can achieve this by adding a couple of extra components. At the end of the leader, I'll put a ring, like a Q ring or just an O ring, and then on that I'll use a chod safety clip. Now what that is it's like a plastic clip, but it's not fully formed, so it will open out under a fair bit of pressure, and that sits within the buffer bead, so it's still all nice and neat. But in the event that the lead will get caught, the lead will come off. Now it won't drop it on the take unless I'm using a very big lead, or unless I want it to, but I would normally set that up so that it would come off under quite a bit of pressure. Now the clips come in two different sizes, one releases it more easily than the other. So I would normally err on the tougher clip, which doesn't release the lead unless it's actually got stuck. But it just adds a further element of safety to the rig, so that in the event that I broke off and a fish went through the snag and the lead got caught, it could still remove the lead. Now that works just on the tension, opening the clip up and popping the lead off like that. One of the downsides of using a helicopter setup is in situations where you might want to use like a stick mix or a PVA bag or something like that. As the lead goes into the water, the power of that against the resistance of the bag hitting the surface tends to drag your bead right up the leader. So the way around that is to use a helicopter setup, but with an inline lead. And I'll show you how that's set up. You still got your same chod bead above your lead and your ring swivel. I should say actually on all helicopter setups with your ring swivel, you want to make sure it's the ring that slides on your leader, not the swivel, to make sure that it can clear any leader knots. We've got a buffer bead, same as before, but because we're using an inline lead, with the lead insert, the buffer bead sits over that insert, and then your leader goes straight through the insert, and then I terminate that with, I've got a size 8 ring swivel on here, which gives me something to tie a PVA bag to. Now we also do special bag clips which will go on there, and so you can just clip your bag on, but today we're just tying it on. So rather than just being attached to your hook, your bag is actually attached to the swivel that's on the end of the line, so right underneath your lead as it were, and then you can just nick your hook point into the bag. And that's how I'd go about setting up a helicopter rig if I wanted to use a bag. Well, there's a bit of insight into the range of leads that we do. I've gained something from doing this video. The trip to the lead factory really opened my eyes about the process of like coating the leads and how the powder's applied. And I hope you can gain something from it too. Maybe thinking about the shape of your lead and how it might affect your presentation, or your lead attachment systems and how you can use different systems to benefit your own angling.